Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about how to work on a derivation problem when one of the premises is a complex negation, a negation of a complex formula. So in this case, our conclusion is negation P, and now that we have both assume CD and assume ID, we should always make an assumption whenever we have a new show line. In this case, we cannot do assume CD because assume CD requires that the show line is a conditional and our show line is not a conditional. So we'll do assume ID instead, and we'll go ahead and pick the simpler version, the one with the fewer negations. In the end, it doesn't matter. These are equivalent. You can move back and forth between them. In general, I think just the one without the negations is easier to look at. Good, so now let's bring in our premise. So now we have P as our assumption, we have negation of P or Q as our second line, or our third line. So we want to move forward. So typically when we move forward, we ask ourselves, okay, well, can we apply any of our elimination rules? Well, there are no conditionals, and that means we cannot apply MP or MT. There are no conjunctions, so we cannot apply S. There are no biconditionals, so we cannot apply BC. Are there any disjunctions? Well, no. 3 is the negation of a disjunction, but that means it's not a disjunction, and so we cannot apply MTP with line 3. Okay, so none of our elimination rules will help us. So we're going to have to do something else. So what else should we do? Well, it will help to think about how we're probably going to end this derivation. And how we're probably going to end this derivation is in a way that matches the assumption. So probably we're going to end with ID. So probably end with ID. And that means probably we'll end with a contradiction. So given what we have, we want to think, well, okay, so what would contradict what we already have? Well, negation P would contradict line 2. It's also actually the conclusion. If we get negation P, we can also just say direct derivation. P or Q would contradict line 3, right? Line 3 says P or Q? No. And so P or Q contradicts line 3, and so that's what we'd like to, that's another thing that would be helpful. So we want to ask ourselves, okay, well, can we get negation P easily? Can we get P or Q easily? Not obvious how we would get negation P. How about P or Q? How could we get P or Q? Well, in general, the way in which you get a disjunction is by using the rule addition. We get P, we get disjunctions from addition. And how does addition work? Addition says, well, if you have Q, then you can, whoops, that's not what I want. Then you can infer to P or Q, yes? If you have one disjunct, you can write down the whole disjunction. It also says if you have P, then you can have P or Q. So we can get to P or Q from P, and look, we already have P on line 2, so we can apply addition to line 2 to get P or Q. So we'll just say 2 addition, and we'll say, okay, good, P or Z, right, we're going to replace the Z with a Q. So we'll put in just saying that Z, we're replacing it with a Q. And there we have it. There we have a contradiction. 3 and 4 contradict one another, and we can apply ID. Okay? So this is the general strategy we want to take when we have a complex negation. When you have a complex negation, what are you going to do with it? Well, your elimination rules don't apply. If it's not a double negation, D and E doesn't apply. And if it's a negation, then it's not a conditional or a disjunction or a conjunction or a biconditional, and so our rules for those don't apply either. So we don't have any inference rules. Right, our inference rules do not apply. But ID does still apply. Right, you can still, if you have, the negation can be a big negation or it can be a small negation. In particular, it's fine if it's a big negation. If you have a big sentence and the negation of that big sentence, you can apply ID. So when you have a complex negation, you want to get the unnegation and then apply ID. And that's what we've done here. We have this negation, this complex negation. We say, okay, good. Let's get the unnegation and then apply ID. So you have to think about, okay, what is the unnegation and how can I get it? Those are then the strategic questions you have to ask yourself to figure out how you're going to complete the derivation. You have to figure out, okay, there's a complex negation. What do? I get the unnegation. Okay, so we can really ask ourselves first, is there a complex a negation. And then if there is a complex negation, and then if there is a complex negation, then we ask ourselves, okay, what is the unnegation, and how can I get the unnegation? So we said, oh, here's a complex negation. What's the unnegation? P or Q. How can I get P or Q? Addition. Addition applied to what? Addition applied to Q, or addition applied to P. Oh, I have P. I can apply addition to get P or Q, to get a contradiction for ID to box and cancel. So that's what I have to say about this problem. I will do a couple more examples in the next video.